All right, everybody, we're back with another episode where I talk to different members of the legendary community, and this time I have Fluffy Baby Ducks here with me. Fluffy, or Baby Ducks, as people may like to call you. How are you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hi TBone. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing really well, thanks. Thanks for joining me on for this chat here. So, Baby Ducks, you
Well,
and I,
thank you for
we
having me.
Oh yeah, that's great. So you and I actually kind of go back, in various different ways. It's kind of interesting. So for those of you who don't know, there used to be this effort called Pact, and that was a way for the developers to get in touch with players. And Baby Ducks and I were actually in the same group, and we've had some really fun, interesting chats. And you've always had some really great ideas, and I thought it'd be a really awesome time for you to come on, and we can have some chat about the game.
Uh, your recollections are slightly different from mine then, because I remember my ideas as being drunken nonsense.
Well, different people had different perspectives, and I definitely think that you had some interesting takes, and I think that it definitely made for some fun conversations.
I am very, very good at hiding behind great minds like MTMs and your salespeople who analyze things and look at things and work things out, and then I come along and steal their ideas shamelessly.
Well, hey, whatever works, right? So there's some interesting, like there's some things I wanted to chat about. First, like, Fluffy Baby Ducks, like this is actually a really awesome name. And I remember you telling the stories about this, but I would love for you to share this. How did you come up with this name for your in-game name for the game?
It's from regular show, to be honest. It's a cartoon about slackers. Um, that I quite like.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a song in it. And one of the lines in the song is a bunch of baby ducks, send them to the moon. And when I first started playing Legendary, my first guild, I just joined the first guild that I found. This is just before the forums started, so there was no way of advertising for a better guild or any or finding people, contacting people. So it was hard to get into the line groups without having an existing contact there, and without the forums, it was hard to get an existing line contact. So I just joined the first guild I came to, and it was dead. So I got drunk one night and thought, hang on, this guild leader is getting 200 extra gems for doing nothing, and I'm doing it all. I'll just go off and make my own guild and get my own 200 gems. Back when I thought 200 gems was, the bee's knee, a big deal. Um, and I was drunk, and it was supposed to just be a guild just for me to finish out this event. At which point I would then cast about and try and find a better guild. And I forgot to set it closed. And I woke up the next morning, and there's two people joined and asking me how to play. And I'd been playing for like 3 days at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's basically how it started.
Okay, so you basically
And
landed.
and
Mm-hmm.
and that's why the guild is called Send Them to the Moon, because it was never meant to be a serious guild.
Right.
It was just and now I wouldn't call it anything else. It's taken a while, but it's we've settled down into a. Did I tell you I was drunk right now? I think you might have to do some
All right.
editing.
Well,
Sorry, I have a tendency to start talking about things and I completely lose track of where I am.
I know it's okay. It's okay. I think that Send Them to the Moon is actually a guild that I see pretty often. We're usually in the Archmages group together, and so I definitely see us
Mm.
competing quite a bit. And it's I've also seen a lot of different people from the same guild in a lot of different chats, and so it definitely is a guild that I see from time to time. And so it's interesting. You kind of landed into that guild leader role, and it started out as something not too serious. But I think from what I've heard, a lot of people enjoy being in your guild, right? It must be a lot of hard work being a guild leader, from my understanding. I kind of rotate in and out myself, but I haven't really spent the time to be a guild leader. So how much time do you actually spend recruiting or working with your guild mates, etc., in the guild that you're currently at, in Send Them to the Moon?
It's hard to put a time on it. To be honest, probably not that much. I mean, I hear of other guild leaders saying, "Oh yeah, I've spent hours on this spreadsheet, documenting how many trophies each member got," and I'm just like, "You what?" Uh, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. This is not my job. This is
Right.
my fun time.
Right.
Um, I'm very, very lucky in that I have ended up with a bunch of awesome people who can pretty much be left to just, get on with it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, we have some newer players that maybe need some advice or, how to put the best um, GVG attack team together. And there's enough people in the guild that there's always an answer for any questions. And I don't really have to do all that much, to be honest.
Yeah,
I just need, I'm just general cat herder.
cat herder. Well, that's awesome. Speaking of cats, there is that photo of your cat here. Would you like to tell me more about her?
Her name is Moxie. She's named after Moxie from Borderlands because we just got her 6 weeks ago, and
Oh.
the people who we got her from needed a new home for her because they didn't have time for her,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't tell us that she was on heat at the
Oh.
time we picked her up.
Okay.
So we get her home, and she immediately goes straight into sexy mode and starts yowling the place down like some kind of demon from hell.
Uh-huh.
We're just looking at her, and she's quite a posh cat.
Right.
She's half Persian, half Maine Coon.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we just looked at her and we thought, high maintenance, inbred, lunatic nymphomaniac. Right, she's getting called Moxie from Borderlands.
Okay. That's quite an interesting cat that that there that's hilarious. So we got your cat here.
And
Mm-hmm.
as soon as she came out of that, she was straight down to the vet.
Gotcha.
So
Well,
she now has a fetching ball patch on her side.
yeah. Well, hopefully that calmed her down a little bit. So that gives you a little bit of time to
No, no,
rest
she's
up.
still a screaming banshee from hell.
Okay. Still still a banshee. That's hilarious. So tell me, you've actually I think you've been playing the game for a while as well. How long have you been playing Legendary?
Coming up to 2 years. It was, I think, end of August, beginning of September when I started.
Oh, almost 2 years. Wow, that's awesome. So that
Yeah.
means you're going to be in line for the second, or I guess the anniversary present, whatever they decide to give, if they do give one this time. I think I'll be coming up on my 3 years sometime soon. It's been crazy how long I've been actually playing the game. So during this time,
How did you
uh-huh.
find it?
How did I
How
find
did you
it?
start?
Oh, it's funny. I was playing a different game at the time, and I was actually just playing the game, and then I had this ad pop up. So I was doing one of those things, and ad pop up, and it was Legendary. And I thought, okay, that was kind of interesting because I was looking for like a match 3 game just to do something completely different, and that's how I found it. So tried it, but the funny thing is, I actually played for about 4 months without really caring about it. So I never went into events, I never leveled up. I just kind of joined a guild that was pretty much dead, and they didn't care enough to boot me. So I just kind of stayed there for about 4 months or so before I actually started playing. So yeah, it was interesting. It's a long time ago, but I still kind of remember that. And that's actually a good question for you too. How did you end up finding about Legendary?
Um, I'd never played a match 3 game before. I didn't really play indoor mobile games. The only mobile phone game that I played prior to this, and which I still play, is Ingress.
Oh, okay.
But I had a twisted ankle
Mm-hmm.
and couldn't really go out and about much. So I just went through Google Play looking for something interesting that I could
Okay,
play indoors.
I see. Now
And
Ingress. Uh-huh. Yeah,
go
so
on.
so Ingress, I think I remember. I never played it, but I think it's very similar to Pokemon Go. Correct? That's like a similar concept.
Pokemon Go is basically founded using the data from Ingress. All the Pokestops and gyms are Ingress portals.
Okay. Yeah.
not all Ingress portals have been moved over to Pokemon,
Mm-hmm.
but if it is a Pokemon gym, apart from the commercial ones, the sponsored ones in coffee shops and things,
Mm-hmm.
um, every other Pokestop and Pokegym is based on an Ingress portal.
I see. I see. Interesting to know. Yeah, I heard about it,
And
but I never played it. Mm-hmm.
most Ingress portals are submitted by Ingress players, which is why an awful lot of them are pubs.
I see. I see. Oh, that's interesting. Do you still play it now? Do you still play other games besides or mobile
Yes.
games? Yeah, that's good. I think that's nice.
Yes, I still play Ingress,
Mm-hmm.
and I also play Gems of War.
Ah, okay.
That's something I've taken up since Legendary.
Gotcha. I see. Yeah, I played that a long time ago as well. So I tried to dabble in different mobile games as well. But Legendary just kind of seemed to be the one that I've stuck to with for the longest. So having played for about 2 years now, you've also seen quite a bit of the history and the evolution of the game itself. And one thing that I always ask different people that I do this interview with is what what was your do you remember, like, if you had to think back, like, what was your favorite either event or maybe like a specific card that came out, or just anything that stands out for you since the time you started playing? What would it be?
Well, my first event was the Night Sun event, and that stood out. I think the Night Sun is still one of my favourite cards because he's a cat. And he's also a very, very good support card, which possibly raised my expectations for subsequent support cards more than they should have been.
Mm-hmm.
The Holy Wing event, I think that was the first event I got a full deck.
Okay.
That was probably when I started spending a bit more.
Okay.
And I remember being so delighted because I did 1.7 billion damage with my full deck.
Right. Hey, billions of damage was a big thing.
that was fine in those days.
I'll have you know, I did a whole video just to say I managed to do 1 billion damage on a boss. Not in one attack either. Like total damage 1 billion, and I managed to take it down. Man, those were the days. And so obviously things have changed a lot since the Holy Wing days. Do you still use Holy Wing from time to time? Or have you found yourself moving towards just Gen 3?
Not like I don't think I've used him this year. Up until last December, I was still using him in GVG.
Okay.
Attack.
Okay. Yeah.
Along with Indale. Oh, Indale is a source of shame for me because I dusted Indale when I first got him.
Oh no!
Back when he was awesome. And I was a total noob, and right. I just I thought, oh, he looks like a gorilla, and I don't like gorillas. So
in the dustbin you go. It was just like when
yeah.
I mean, like, it's just like when I used to do that too.
Actually, he's one of the best cards in the game at that time.
He was a great card.
No buyback, man.
He was a great card. He's still a really good card to use. I mean, like, we all make these kind of mistakes too. Like, this is what I did. I took what's the name? The water delayer Statch Brute. And the 3-star card,
the little dwarf guy.
Oh yeah, the little dwarf guy. I thought he was awesome, and I took him. And also the Stone Sister that created a Power Gem 1. I awakened those cards. Yep, I maxed it out, awakened them, and
I have.
Yeah.
I have a 3 times awake light delayer.
Oh yeah.
Envoy.
Starhaven, yeah, Envoy, yeah. I mean, we've all done that. We've all been there, and it's just funny. Like, people know not to do this now, but back then there's not enough information, right? And so it's funny stories. I hear about them all the time. And so kind of sort of moving forward a little bit. So going from Generation 1 then through that whole like Generation 2, sort of like
Sorry, the cat's going mad. Are you picking that up?
No, I'm just fine right here. Yeah, no worries. And so we kind of went through that whole like fast-paced Generation 2, and then now we are on to Generation 3 with all the changes in between. And I was curious, from your perspective, how did you like the changes so far that you've seen in Gen 3, both with like the cards or the event themselves? Like, how do you feel so far?
Um, it's been a bit of a roller coaster because first they start off with the runes and then it switches to dust, and then they can't decide on how they're gonna how much dust and how much dust is going to be available from quest points, and how many quest points we're going to have available. And of course, now we've got quests,
Right.
so there has been an awful lot of changes in a very short space of time, I
Yes.
feel.
Yes, there was.
And that to me has left me feeling somewhat aggrieved because you just I don't like I don't like not knowing where I'm gonna what's going to be expected of me next week, or and as well from a guild leader's perspective, I'm sort of trying to find out as much as possible so that all the other people who don't know what's expected of them can be told by me, oh,
Mhm.
do this or do that, and I don't know.
Right.
And so it seems to have settled down a bit these last few events. Um, so I feel like I'm finally maybe got some space to try and work out how I like the game now,
Mhm.
which I'm in the process of doing. But while there were so many changes going on one after the other, I didn't feel like I could stop and evaluate anything
Mhm.
because it'd be changed next week.
Right. Yeah, when there's constant changes, it's really hard to really sort of like figure out what's the norm. And you think you figured out something, and then
Yeah,
it changes the next week. Then you have to re-explain it all over again. Yeah, I totally understand how
I
that would be.
I do remember times in the game when it was very samey, and every event would be the same. You'd maybe get an occasional world conqueror or something that would break it up,
Hmm.
but apart from that, it was just the same thing week in, week out, and people got bored and
Right.
wanted something, something a bit fresher. And fair enough, but network does seem to have a history of going to extremes.
Yeah. So kind of from just extremely predictable to we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah,
Right. So I think
yeah,
they're still trying to find a happy medium. And so, having been a guild leader and, for a while now, and you've seen sort of the back and forth, and you've talked about the people who are really awesome in your guild that really help you out, which I think is really amazing. So again, the guild name is Send Them to the Moon, and it's just WOO with exclamation mark if you're looking for the guild tag. And obviously, whenever spot opens up, hopefully you're
it's
looking for good
woo.
players as well. It's woo, and so look it up as
That's
well.
something. That's something I I do miss.
Hmm.
You know how they've this new update with the speeded up relic animations,
Yeah.
which is great. The relic animations speeded up. That's brilliant.
Hmm.
That helps a lot. But they've also tucked it to one side the icon of anybody else attacking the same boss.
Hmm.
And I used to really love guild bosses when one of my guildmates would come up and it would say "woo," whatever the name was, and
Uh-huh.
I would say that in my head. I would say "woo,"
That's
and
funny.
I don't get to do that anymore.
Right. It's kind of low fidelity now. Everything's off to the side, so you don't really see the name as clearly as before. So that is definitely a big change there. So I guess for you, yay or nay on the new changes? I think I heard yay for the relic changes, but kind of the thing you miss is the big name that you see from your guildmates when they attack. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. It's sad.
It is sad.
It's just sad.
But hopefully we can work through that. So tell me, having played the game for a while now, if you had to give an advice for somebody who might be just starting up, picking up the game for the first time, what would be some of the suggestions or recommendations you would have for them?
Getting an active guild, definitely. Um, there's there's so much. It has become very very complex, um, and you just there's no way you can figure it all out on own. You need an active guild with
Hmm.
people who will answer questions. Having said that, though, it does depend on what you want. I mean, I've got people on my friends list that I've had for the entire length of time that I've been playing, and they're in a tiny little guild, and they're still playing. They're so that's obviously they're quite happy doing that.
Right. I think it is definitely definitely is whatever people like, right? Some people enjoy being in a smaller guild, and some people enjoy being in an active guild. So I think it's true. It's what they want.
Well, for some people, it's quite possible to be just a casual pick up and play, maybe for half an hour a day, and get whatever cars you can for free, and don't sweat the rest, and well, that's the beauty of it. There are many different ways to play. That you've got highly active players that play global almost every week. You've got very casual players. You've got ones in between. You've got people who concentrate on the solo leaderboards. Me, I play guild.
Okay.
I've actually lost interest quite a bit in Commander lately. Commander used to be my favourite event, and since they took away the guild trophies from since they split the trophies, I find myself lacking incentive for solo bosses now.
Okay.
And I thought the quests might go some way to alleviating that, but they haven't really.
Right. So then the focus now shifts back to Slayer, but in Slayers it's a lot easier to be more guild focused, I think, with all the different type of bosses and with the Punisher and all these different bosses. So
Punisher is commander.
Punisher is commander. You're absolutely correct. I let me think. There's this the frenzy boss is what I was thinking about, not the Punisher. The frenzy bosses.
Oh, frenzy bosses are great.
Yeah. So it is a good way to get people together. Like I think the 4 hour sort of regular schedule is actually what keeps us coordinated very well. So I do enjoy that aspect of it as well. So definitely for a guild focused play, that's definitely very good. And so tell me, so being a guild focused sort of player here, and I think that, what I heard is you enjoy Commander before, not as much now. You play for the guild, which is all fine and dandy. But I also see you being very active in some other chats as well. I guess like one of the things I see you in a lot in is the official LGH Chat. And so, how have you found your experience so far since they've opened up the the network app and joining different chat groups? Like, which ones do you find yourself in, and how has your experience been so far interacting with the different players outside of your guild?
It's good. I've met some really great people on the network app. The network app itself is still a bit flaky for me. There's a lot of times things just, I get image load failed message so many times.
Oh, okay.
So, if it's a conversation that involves a lot of screenshots or images or, what's happening in this, my cards did something weird and here's a picture. And a lot of the time I just can't see it. So,
Right.
I'm probably more involved in conversations on the line app for the simple reason that that actually works better for me.
Right. Yes. Actually, line app.
More communication is good.
Yeah, that is definitely true.
Communication is good.
Yes, I agree. Actually, the line app is also where I found my start. A lot of the chat groups I just joined there. That's where I learned a lot as well. So I think it is a great tool as well. But I just personally enjoy the fact that there's more ways for different people to ask questions and to get some answers as well. And so yeah. And so one last question for you, just a final question for Baby Ducks. If you had to see one thing changed about the game, whatever it is you want, what would it be?
Not so much a change, but a future edition.
Okay, what would it be?
I want a kitten deck. I want a kitten deck And I want their relics to be mittens.
Oh my goodness, that's awesome. So I would imagine there's a lot of people out there who probably would be very happy to see that. So what kind of kittens would it be? Would it be, you know,
They would be sheepish looking kittens because they'd lost their mittens.
oh, okay. And then so get the relic,
And
that's the
and
mints.
and the boss would be a pie.
The boss would be a pie. Okay.
Yes. Yes, and once they've got their mittens, they can have their pie.
Well, you heard it here first, and maybe we can give this idea to the content team or the dev team and see if they can make it happen. I mean, they did make Phoenix a thing, so I can't imagine
They
them.
did.
Right. I can't
They
imagine
did.
them not
It
making
took some
kids a
work,
thing.
but
Hmm.
but they did bring Phoenix
They did bring
back.
Phoenix.
So
So the next thing, we're gonna look for cat decks. I think that's a cool idea. All right, Dux. Thank you so much for joining me and for sharing some of the stories and also for just talking to me about this. And so thanks
no,
everybody.
thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. So that's it for today's
I hope
episode.
I haven't been too drunkenly whittering on.
No, absolutely not. You've been a pleasure. It's been a delight. Looking forward to having you on the
Damn.
future episodes as well. Yeah.
Damn it! I should have finished off that bottle.
Should have done something
Things
more,
would have
right?
been different then.
Well, we always have more opportunities for that. So that's all for today's episode. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we're gonna have more. Let me know who you'd like to hear from next, and we will continue the series. And who knows? It could be you next. Anyways, thanks a lot for listening. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.